Hey guys, welcome to Statistics. We are now officially done with probability. We're going to start looking into just the most basic section of our statistics unit. This is Lesson 5, Statistical Survey Models, on page 31 of your packet. Now, statistics is the study of the collection, analysis, interpretation, presentation, and organization of data. It's really, we use it to summarize data and make predictions, or to use data to make informed decisions. So our goal with this Nearpod lesson is let's get the bulk of these notes down so that when we get to the more, mathy part of statistics, we have more time to do practice problems in class, okay? So first we're gonna start with statistical studies. A statistical study is a 4-step process. Step 1 is to ask a question that can be answered with data. Okay, not open-ended questions necessarily, something that you can collect as a piece of data. Step 2 is to collect that appropriate data. Whatever it is that might be the answer to your question, you're going to collect the data. 3, we organize and analyze that data. Okay, and the whole point of this is to make a conclusion in the context of the original question. And that conclusion will help you make predictions, make decisions. But this is the basis of our statistical studies. Now, there are 3 main types of statistical studies that we are going to really look at. And the first of those 3 are surveys. You guys have all participated in surveys before. A survey is a series of questions that participants are asked to answer. It could be one question, it could be a questionnaire with a bunch of them, but it's really just simple questions that you have to answer. Participants should be randomly selected. Now, that is a word that you've hopefully noticed that we've been seeing a lot of in probability, and we're going to see a lot more of it in statistics. It is so important that any statistical study is random, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. A survey is a simple way of collecting data, but there are many ways that they can be biased. If a survey is voluntary, it may lead to people answering a certain way. For example, maybe only people that feel positively or negatively or strongly in any given direction might be more inclined to answer. The delivery of a survey is important. Take into consideration technology, phone calls or texts, emails. An example of this is when the world was shutting down with COVID. A lot of school districts reached out to the community, to students, to parents, to ask, hey, do you have the technology available to do remote learning from home? And guess how they delivered that survey? They sent it out in an email. So I want you to think about that. You're being asked if you have the technology to participate online, but you're being asked online. So what if you had to answer no to that survey? No, I don't have the technology. How would you access the survey in the first place? So that is something that can create bias in surveys, the delivery of it. Even wording can cause bias. The way that a question is presented could lead somebody one way or another. If I say to you, do you like soccer? you don't know what I want you to say. You don't know if I like soccer or I don't like soccer. I'm just asking you a straightforward question. But if I said, don't you love soccer? That's kind of leading you to be like, oh yeah, I love soccer too. Like, it sounds like you do. So the way that things are worded can cause bias, okay? The biggest thing that is going to be used and focused on to avoid bias in any statistical survey is to keep them random. And that's going to keep coming up, okay? Just keep that random thought in your mind. Everything always needs to be random when we're doing any type of study. Let's look at the second type of study. It's an observational study. And in these, the behavior of the participant is observed and recorded. So nothing is being done to control, interfere, anything. You are literally just watching and observing. That is why it's called an observational study. The person conducting the study cannot do anything to control, interfere with, or control what the subjects do. Participants should be randomly selected. So here we go with that random again, okay? Participants should always be randomly selected. Bias can exist if participants are not randomly selected. A big thing about observational studies is a lot of time the participants that are involved don't even know they are being observed. And that helps to keep it authentic. It helps to keep it true. If they don't know that they're being watched, they won't, try to act a different way if we're talking about people as participants. Another thing about these is that observational studies can suggest patterns and relationships, but they cannot determine cause and effect. All right, and the last one, and now we're on page 32. This is experimental studies. The person conducting the study, again, you guessed it, randomly selects some of the subjects and exposes them to some kind of treatment. Bias can exist if the group receiving treatment is not random. Experiments can suggest patterns and data, and they also can determine cause and effect relationships. Now, something that I want to add on to experimental. Typically, if it's a medical type of problem, a medical experiment, you'll see one group might receive a certain drug and one group might receive a placebo, which means like a fake drug. It's really empty. And that is how you can see the difference. Anything that has two groups, if something is split up into two groups and you're comparing, that is an experiment. If anything is being controlled at all by the person conducting the study, that is an experiment. Because in a survey and in an observational study, nothing is being controlled, just either asked or observed. Okay, so on page 32, for the rest of your homework, I'm going to put up some problems asking you some answers to 1 and 2. Okay, so take some time, answer those. And tomorrow, I'm going to expect you guys to understand or at least know the difference between these 3 studies. And we will get into some more region-style questions. All right, make sure if you're stuck on something, if you don't understand something, come with questions. The purpose of these videos is so that we can just get a head start. All right, have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.